We raced in Great Britain. There was max dominance, but what else is new? I'll tell you what else is new. McLaren is back, baby. All the way back. Episode 112 of the Eaton Asphalt Podcast. Hey, Marco, McLaren's back.
They are back. They're the hottest team in Formula One right now.
They are red hot right now. Papaya hot, dude. And they almost had a little Ferrari hiccup where they put those hard tires on at the end of the race. And I was like, oh, this is how they're like, they don't want to be too good. So they're going to blow it and let Lewis Hamilton on soft tires behind him just absolutely smoke him while Lando tries to heat up his hards. But, number 4, baby. Number 4.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think they knew that they're like, our car is faster. We can hold them off with the hards for a little bit until these bad boys get warmed up. Every lap that we can hold him off, those percentages start to turn, and they turned.
They did, and in our favor. But yeah, man, it feels good. This is a different vibe that I have, like recording a podcast where McLaren's not like just disappointing me left and right. How do you feel?
On today's pod, we're going to go through our good, bad, and ugly, our gambling paddock, our race predictions, our race recap, and then our race predictions recap.
Right on. Well, let's get right into our good, bad, ugly.
Ian, I'll give you the honors to start there off.
Oh, all right. Well, this was a hard one for me. Nothing has been more back in the history of the world than the orange papaya of McLaren. McLaren faithful, of which I consider myself a ringleader, never wavered in their support, always been back in the boys in the garage and boys in the cars. Podium seemed impossible this year. I'd be lying if I said I expected it. But Norris was there at the end of the race doing his little thing where he smashes this just champagne bottle. It squirts everywhere. People are cheering. I'm crying a little bit. Here we are, dude. P2, P4. Piastri's biggest points haul was 4 points before this race. Jumped up to P11 in the Drivers' Championship after getting 12 points in a single race. 30 points in a single weekend from the boys, which I don't like. I know I'm not trying to be mean about it, but 4 points higher than Ferrari's best weekend result, 26 points. So yeah, I would say McLaren's back. If I haven't said, maybe this is my 5th time saying it, McLaren's back, number 6. Your thoughts?
I mean, you nailed it. I don't have anything else to say there.
My bad is Alpine. The P5 wannabe posers never had a shot in the top 5, and they know it themselves. Pierre busted his suspension after colliding with Lance Stroll. Esteban couldn't even make it 10 laps in that little box. The team's falling apart at the seams. If you take away Esteban's P3 win, the podium at Monaco, they would be 24 points behind McLaren. Luckily he qualified where you can't pass at Monaco. So he was, they're 12 points behind McLaren right now, but wrap it up. They are capital D dead. We will not talk about Alpine one more time for the rest of the season, as we only talk about the top 5 teams. And then ugly, sweet Nick, our sweet Nicholas de Vries. We hardly knew him. Some people come into F1 with a bang. He came in with a bit of a soft Dutch whisper, I would say. Only got 10 races in Formula One before the jaws of Helmut Marko clamped down on him and kicked his ass out of that AlphaTauri. Wish I could say that I'll miss him, but the truth is I'm not going to miss him. I'm bummed for him, but I'm not going to be like, oh, bummer, especially with who we got, who I won't ruin because I'm assuming that's going to be in your good, bad, ugly. But yeah, looking forward to seeing him on the post-race show that he does, where he kind of breaks everything down, because I think that's where he's like the best, shown to be a little bit of a forgettable driver. But yeah, if he comes back on the grid, I'll be very happy. But RIP, our sweet Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have like the biggest personality, so
Yep.
he just like he's just kind of like steady pace all the way through. So yeah, like I mean, poor guy. It's a tough look for your Formula One career as of right now. Well, you had much less races than Nikita Mazepin.
Yeah, dude. Tough. Ooh, tough stat.
Yeah,
Tough stat.
yeah. So Nikita does have some like he's not last in everything, as a Formula One driver. Like he's beaten some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good for him. That's good, bad, and ugly. My good is going to be Martin Bundle, the legend himself, doing his typical pre-race grid walk, where it's just like this is Martin's world. This is like he is the king of the track when it's pre-race grid walk. There are a few races that kind of bring the most like A-listers out on the grid. Those typically are Monaco, Miami, the British Grand Prix, and I'm assuming Vegas is going to be similar to that this time. Caro Delevingne.
Cara Delevingne.
Yep, exactly. Repeating me, weird. So she was a guest in the Alfa Romeo car this weekend. I looked up all the movies she was in, shows. Forgettable lady, pretty, but
Very
yeah,
pretty.
it's yeah, very pretty. But has not been really like a star, so that kind of makes sense why Alfa Romeo got her this weekend. But yeah, she was there, kind of taking pictures, hopping in the car and stuff, fun stuff like that. When he approached, she politely said no, thank you. Which she even later said an Alfa Romeo representative said like, "Don't talk to Martin. Here he comes. Shoo him away." And Martin just, I mean, basically like Ian at a house party in college, just would not take no for an answer. He said she doesn't want to talk, but everyone needs to talk on the grid. That's the deal now. Everyone talks on the grid. So he also just kind of said a rude remark like, oh, basically, oh, like, I'm sure what you had to say was going to be super important as he walked away. I mean, really rude. It seems like it's like when he doesn't get what he wants, he just tries to find something very snippy. I think he has a pretty quick kind of like anger twitch. I know like that video all goes around once a week with him talking to Christian Horner way back in the day. And he was like, oh, like you would have loved here. Like you're too old of a driver. And he's like, oh, like I wish you were good enough of a driver to make it into Formula One. So just like things like if he feels disrespected, he's going to clap back. He felt disrespected. I did think that when he was like, everyone needs to talk on the grid, there were literally 5 minutes later, he saw Lewis walking, getting ready for the national anthem. And he was like, so Lewis doesn't like talking to reporters or anyone before the race, and we just want to respect his wishes. So we're not going to say anything to him. So, so much for saying like everyone needs to talk on the grid. It's like, oh, everyone that I think needs to talk to me needs to talk to me. But when you don't need to talk to me, when I decide, you're good. But man, I mean, I think I love it. I love the spiciness. Love just like something to kind of like cringe a little bit. And he does that for me almost every race.
Yeah, his track walk should never be like canceled because
I don't like, yeah, like Alfa Romeo came back and was like, oh, you got to show respect as well. It's like, no, he doesn't, because it is funny.
let the
I
man
laugh.
cook.
I
Let the
laugh.
man-
And that's all I care about. All right, my bad. So similar to your ugly, actually, my bad last week was Nick DeVries. I'm just going to keep that there, as no explanation is needed. So I kind of nailed that bad. I would like to get like an extra point, I would say, in the race prediction, because it came as bad as it could be for the poor guy. My ugly is going to be unfortunate pit stops. This happened to cost Ferrari a handful of places, but their pace sucked anyways, relative to the better teams on the grid. So not really the biggest deal. You can't really like hang your hat on, oh man, what could have been, when they were easily getting passed by kind of the surrounding teams. But mainly it is for Ian's boy, rookie Oscar Piastri, a well-deserved podium finish if this had not been the case. And he said it best when he said it's not the worst thing to feel gutted at a fourth place finish. So just an ugly, like it's just one of those things I think that makes Formula One just so intriguing, is like there's very few sports where like something completely out of your control, where you're doing the perfect strategy and just a blunder that you can never predicted ruins the race, ruins your race, or ruins, you drop down a number of places because something like that happened. So pretty tough pretty tough race or finish for the Australian. But the way he drove, I mean, it's only a matter of time until he gets that podium.
Yeah, 100%. He would like both guys defending and attacking. Like they were on top of it, making good moves, dude. And yeah, it's an exciting time.
Well, that's pretty bad and ugly. Moving on to our gambling paddock. Dude, tough week for the boys in the gambling paddock. We both lost $40, two
Yeah.
units.
Yeah, we both lost all the money we gambled, which is weird because that usually doesn't happen.
That is, I think, maybe, yeah, maybe the first time in a long time that I lost both bets. I was like, hey, this is a decent line. I put 2 units on one bet. I know never to do that. And why would I ever bet? Why do you ever bet on Lance Stroll? What an idiot, dude. It made me so mad watching this, being like, why I wouldn't even have enjoyed it that much watching him if he barely got through, because it has just been an anxiety attack the entire time. It made me angry. He was the entire race. It felt wrong that I bet in his favor.
Yeah. Yeah, tough. And Max and Sergio not making the top 2. If there was a way that I was going to lose this and I could pick the way that I could lose it, it would have been Lando taking that other spot. So great.
Yeah,
but yeah, other than that, continuing my losing ways, we are going to have to really think about how to handle me running out of money. Like, do I just like actually put deposit another $500 and just keep going?
It just seems like, where does that money go?
Just a charity to the children.
Okay, I mean, if you show a receipt for $500 to a charity, yeah, you get $500.
Bella, I need you to Photoshop a receipt of $500
to the best charity I could find. Yeah, dude, I don't think you're gonna. I don't know if you're gonna make it. You're gonna be pushing it to summer break.
Yeah, we're
at
gonna
this rate,
start taking some real conservative bets here.
You went down that path a couple weeks ago.
I know, dude. What else am I supposed to do though?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's funny. Yeah, I'm down to from 556, tough weekend, 526, Ian, 254 to 214. So officially under half of what he started with.
That's all right. Minor setback for a major comeback. Look at McLaren, dude. Now that McLaren's doing, you don't think I'm
do it. You didn't want to do it in front of them. You want to like lead from behind, and I think that's a great strategy.
That's always a good strategy to lead from behind.
Yeah. All right, that sucked. Let's go over our race recap.
All right, let's talk about what happened before the most beautiful race ever. Pre-race kind of quali, Bottas disqualification after not being able to provide a satisfactory fuel sample, which not a big deal, right? I think he qualified like P15 anyway, so I don't think that would have made like a minor, I guess, splat or like a huge kind of change for him. What did happen though is that if we would have known that, then Sergio Perez would not have gotten out in Q1, since he did finish P16 after a deleted lap. That is tough, and
he loves
happening.
Deleted laps.
Dude, he loves to go outside of track limits. He's been in Q3 4 out of the 10 races, which seems a bit underachieving when you have the best car on the grid and it's not even relatively close. What I saw though, what really shocked me was 5 races without getting into Q3. That's in a row. And this one, he didn't even get into Q2. I tried to spin zone this in a way that might make him feel better when he hears this, because we know he listens. He starts so far back that his positions gained versus positions lost in terms of grid start and finish is plus 54. So you can call him Sergio Perez, or you can call him the overtake king, and I choose the latter.
Sergio Pasquez.
Nice, keep it.
It was rough. But I like the spin zone because I think he knows there's no way I can beat Max in the important stats like winning, like driver's championship. But I can beat him in overtakes. Max has very little. And he looks at the season and he compares some of these. It's like Max wins circle, pulls circle, fastest lap circle. Then he's like me, most overtakes, big circle. That's a big number.
You want to see boring races all the time where the guy who starts P1 finishes P1, or do you want to see some passing, some action on track? Because that's what you get with Checo.
He's a fans driver. Yeah, he's a fans driver.
He is, dude. Drive to Survive wants Checo. They don't want they want that cool footage.
We need movement. We need some movement.
It's just DRS, like the easiest passes. He passes at the beginning of the DRS zone. Anyway, other than that, Stroll out in Q2. Not great for Marco's bet. Alpines both out in Q2, as mentioned previously, frauds. And then on a positive note, Logan Sargent got into P2 for the second time this season. So good claps for America. Showing up on British soil, reminding them who daddy is.
You like that?
You like that?
You like that Q2?
So yeah, that's quality.
Dude, that Williams is looking pretty good. Like
shocking.
Like quietly very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Albon, I mean, dude, he's been placing some we have not seen this in Williams in ever.
No, and I think I just watched a Formula One video on their YouTube about why the Williams is so quick. All of it went way over my head, but I know they're quick. So,
give me the top
high level overview.
Yeah.
So from the beginning of the season, Williams has mostly had this car that because of the aerodynamics and the technical setup, it's been on the slower side. And then they made some changes. And so now as of recent, it's kind of faster. So,
okay. Was it Williams' car that, when they lifted it up in Monaco, it was just flat. I think ever since then, they've been kind of half decent. They're like, oh, fuck, you're supposed to have divots in this. We're supposed to have lines. Oh, okay. We'll copy Red Bull. That might've been the only thing that they were really struggling with is we have no one that has ever done a floorboard before.
Yeah. They've been just pushing off that project. They're need to get to that floor.
They were banking on, and we need to see someone else's floor. We'd have nothing.
It worked. Turns out floor is an important part of the aerodynamic. So
good for them. Well, great calls. Very entertaining. Yeah, a lot of surprising things throughout. So I can never go wrong with that. And then on to Sunday. So like we said, the talk of the town, the team, and everybody's mouth, McLaren in fifth place for the first time in a minute. 59 points. So over doubled their points this weekend with 30 this weekend. So over doubled what they had previously. Lando, just to start, beating out Max on the first turn. We rarely see this happen to Max. And then not only that, but he holds them off for 5 laps. So with 3 of them, Max having DRS. So it wasn't like a fluke, hey, I had a bad slow start. My reaction time was slow. See ya, I'm gone. The fact that McLaren held it for 5 laps, pretty impressive. Not only that, I know they were saying that Max's tires, his rear tires were a little didn't have a great grip starting off. So maybe a little caveat here, but regardless of the fact, Piastri goes at Max a few times in the first few laps, just coming up just a little short. Max having that speed of the Red Bull, obviously, to kind of defend. But the fact that we're seeing one McLaren having to defend Red Bull and another one attacking, and that Red Bull being Max is just it's probably a McLaren fan's dream. Did you ever think this year, from the start of this year, that you got to be leading a lap at all?
No. Mika Hakkinen did, though. Mika Hakkinen called this a month ago, which is
good
impressive.
for him, dude. Wow, that is actually shocking. Good for him. Maybe we need to reach out to him and be like, hey, some race predictions, some gambling paddock for us, buddy.
Gambling paddock would help a lot.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I mean, talking about it, I was pretty hard on them this entire last week. I think they need to keep that stupid livery that I think did give them a couple tenths of a second on the race pace. So just keep that going. I still think it didn't look great, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about finishes and production. And then just hearing about Lewis throughout the race, I think it was like to his team on the radio after the race to in the like driver cool down room, just kept saying that McLaren is a rocket ship. So you know that Lewis is going to go back to the garage. You saw all the videos of and memes of Toto walking down, being like, I'm going to get that McLaren engine back, or that Mercedes engine that we gave McLaren back, figure out what the hell happened. But I think last thing I was going to say, watching Lewis, we talked about this, going on hards and softs between after the last safety car pit stop. I thought it was just maybe a matter of time that Lewis kind of got past the Brit on Brit action, you know. But yeah, I mean, fantastic job for that. McLaren was just a faster car, and but that was very entertaining way to like kind of end the last quarter of the race. So
Yeah, I mean, it kept eyeballs on it for sure.
yeah, all
And
thumbs up from the fifth place team.
yeah, and you know, I think some people on Twitter were definitely saying after the fact that they got pretty nervous about Lewis sticking a wheel up on the inside of Cops, where he almost again murdered Max Verstappen on accident. But yeah, like just clean racing. Like I think you could tell Lewis probably would have wanted two Brits on the podium rather than him in second and then, you know, Oscar in third or something like that. It's probably not true, but that's what I'm going to tell myself. You know,
Good guy Lewis, dude. Good guy Lewis.
good guy Lewis never disappoints. And moving on to our fourth place team in the Constructors Championship, scoring 3 points this weekend, 157 points total on the season. We have Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, P5 to P10, Charles Leclerc, P4 to P9. Strategy kind of like just didn't go right for either of these guys. I think they pitted a little while before the safety car, like not many laps beforehand. And then of course Magnussen's car exploded and they just didn't go well. Carlos got a little pushy with Pierre. It didn't seem like it was as bad. I mean, obviously Lance took him out, but I didn't really see, and I don't think Carlos saw a bunch of like, you know, super bad stuff. I think it was mostly in qualifying that Pierre was like actually mad about, just kind of taking his anger out on that from Saturday. But yeah, I mean, Ferrari have scored more than 15 points in 4 out of 10 races this season, which is a little bit of a shocker. Means that like the points that you get for a P5 and P7 finish, they've only gotten that or above 4 times. I don't know, man. It just seems like over and over again, they should be achieving a lot more. Some Charles Leclerc rumors, Orlando Norris to Red Bull rumors. Like if they keep screwing them over with, they didn't screw them over, they just got unlucky, but this just kind of like pours salt in the open wounds of like having bad strategy and, you know, kind of like having just bad races in general. So who knows? Charles Leclerc maybe tries to, you know, how Kyrie Irving like burned sage. I think Charles's burning sage is going to be going to a team who's won a constructors championship within the last less than 16 years.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he wants to be.
He just got so sad. Like, yeah.
Does he want to go to a team where he's the number 2? Is the thing that I keep trying to wrap my head around. And you're leaving the epitome of Formula One racing teams. You know, that is like the team every kid grows up dreaming, I want to be in a Ferrari car. That's how I'm trying to. This is me. Oh, who cares about winning? Yeah. Like, wouldn't you like to ride in a really cool car that like the history was really cool and be the number 1 driver in a losing car? Definitely. So that's how I'm going to spin that. I'm sure he's doing the exact same. But yeah, I do like those Lando rumors because, you know, like McLaren, whatever, they were okay a little bit, but Red Bull and their buddy, him and Max are buddies. They're boys.
They are. And
yeah, so like why they'd be crazy to not leave or to not leave.
Plus, they're like, I think you and I were talking about it earlier. Like Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris are just like very good drivers who have never had a super dominant car. So they have a super dominant car to where they can fight the super dominant driver of the last 2 years. Then that's going to be interesting. So yeah, man, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the first one to ask this, and I'm sure other people are gonna start bringing this up weeks down the road. The way things are going, I think it's only a matter of time before McLaren passes Ferrari for fourth place.
I think that's a bit of a stretch, because dude, this is still 100-point gap. If they have this much pace,
Dude, you almost cleared a third of it in one race.
yeah, but you were also
I know, but this is also there's not 3 races left. There's a lot of races left.
there is.
If they can chip away and have maybe every now and then a really big chunk. I don't know what was wrong. I didn't see, and I tried looking for it. I don't know what they could figure out what was wrong with the Ferrari, but that also worries me because if they haven't like, hey, this was wrong, we got to figure it out for next time. They're back in the lab being like, what the fuck's going on? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Their upgrades clearly have not been, dude, I bet Mattia Binotto is just laughing his ass off right now. Like, you thought I was the problem?
I leave and look what happens. You drive.
Dude, it's so worse. You're worse. All right. Well, moving on to Aston Martin. Speaking of teams that just been in a bit of a lull the past couple races. 6 points, so double at Ferraris. 6 points this weekend. 181 points. Fernando Alonso 9-7. Lance Stroll 12-14. Alonso's 20th Grand Prix in Britain. So the old timer, congrats. And then obviously like not too great. 6 points. He says not to worry. I think that like if I'm him and beginning of the season, Aston's like, if we can get third place in the constructors, we'll take it. He says not to worry. And I think if it's coming in third as the goal, I wouldn't either. I know they're both struggling. I don't know. And I'm pretty low in Ferrari right now, but I think that they are in a good stranglehold on third. I don't see them getting like Mercedes is really starting to pull away. Ferrari has to show something to make me feel like that they can actually compete for third. So if he's happy with third, I wouldn't worry either. And with a teammate like Lance Stroll, you're not going to catch up to Mercedes at second. So I think maybe he's coming to terms being like, no matter what I do, I'm driving as like a team of one.
Yeah.
So I think he's had a lot of like perspective probably this year, being like, I'm still a good driver. I'm looking good. People are talking about me. I'm liked now. And my teammate is absolute ass, but I can't say he is because his dad would be pretty pissed off. So I think he's in like a fantastic spot. I would be as happy as him and just as chill as possible as him. With Lance, he was the douche of the day, I would say. I know we haven't gotten to race predictions recap, but neither of us picked him. He clearly, him and Gasly was just a spicy boy this weekend. I also, going back on what you said, him coming up to Carlos at the end of quals during those interviews, I thought it was kind of a joke. It was very confusing the way he just like reacted to that. And Carlos kind of like laughed it off. So I didn't know if it was serious or not. I guess it was. But yeah, him and just like, having this little tete-a-tete one time with Stroll. And then later Stroll was like, I'm knocking you out. Like I'm pushing you wide. I'm going to bump into you. I don't think he got penalized for that either. I think that they said there was racing room and Gasly could have moved to the side. A little semantics, I guess, but definitely kind of a douche and just an overall tough race again for Lance Stroll. Lance, speaking of Lance Stroll, did not lead the entire Grand Prix and was never in the points. So his best was 11th, was the highest place he got throughout the race. So just no pace. No matter how bad he finishes in quals, cannot move up the grid. Just overall pretty bleak times for the guy.
Yeah. But he is in first place for number of penalty points among the grid. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So he's winning one race.
Kid, that's the same with Perez, dude. I think they got to find a slant. You know, they're like, it's too late for me, and there's no way I'm going to catch up to Alonso in any of the cool, good metrics. Got to beat him in some other.
I respect it because
Yeah.
if you ain't first, you're last, but at least you're first in something.
Something. Yeah.
Moving on to our P2 team, Mercedes, 25 points this weekend, 203 points on the season. Lewis Hamilton, P7, not a great qualifying. I think there were some concerns that the car took some steps back, but then P3 ending up on the podium on his home race. And then George Russell, P6 to P5. Didn't have a great start, right? Dropping down to P8. I think he went wide on one of the earlier turns, and that was some, cause for concern, but good recovery the rest of the race. Held out for the safety car, came at kind of the perfect time for Lewis, and then George was the exact opposite. Felt like he could have been on the podium if not for some bad safety car luck. But I think like the biggest takeaway for me is like going into Friday and Saturday, or after Friday and Saturday, I was like, like maybe we just had a flash in the pan with this Mercedes, but I think they're still quick. Like they have really good race pace. Had Lewis, I don't know, had Lewis not had a really bad start, who knows, maybe he would have been P2 or something like that. So yeah, decent day for Mercedes, but I think especially with kind of the back and forth between Lewis and Lando at the end of the race, like Lewis seemed like he'd be able to pass him a couple times, and Lando's defense was just too good, or Lewis just couldn't make it happen on the tires and with the car. So is what it is. Still comfortably at P2 right now. What is it, like 22 points ahead of Aston Martin? And so yeah, that's where they're definitely not going to get into first. So this is kind of the best that they can ask for at the moment.
Yeah. And I think, it's just the fact that Lewis kind of had a decent point where he was like, we need to get the car better. We need to get the car better. And Toto was like, we have to look on to next year for the same Mercedes engine that McLaren has, for how bad that they were at the beginning of the year, for how good they are now. He has a kind of a good point, being like, why can't we do what they have been just done? Like, why are they so good with that? We were way ahead of them in pace and development and everything this year. How did they make so much of a leap? Why can't we do that? So I kind of understand maybe that frustration a little bit of like, what are we doing wrong? I think it's just a little bit another like Toto, like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah. Who knows?
Talking to DeVries.
Talking to DeVries at lunch, dude.
Monica, dude. Yeah,
I thought for a second he was DeVries' manager, because he's so many other people's manager. Like he's Valtteri's manager. But yeah, I think he was just, I guess, like consoling him, like you do, like taking out a friend to lunch after break or something like that.
Dude, I didn't realize. I was like, oh, dude, a young kid, like give him a shot. And he was like, Helmut Marko was like, he's 28. He's had plenty of time. So he's been around the block a little bit of like actually like race experience. I know not a ton in Formula One, but he's had chances to drive Formula One cars. He's had, like, it's not like he's some young gun that is just like, oh, he's just a little raw. So yeah, 28 as a rookie. I kind of get the leash being a little shorter than you would at other drivers, but enough Nick talk. Probably won't have any more for the rest of the season. Moving on to Red Bull. So 411 points now. Continuing to double the second place team, 34 points from this weekend. Red Bull, Max Verstappen, P1 to P1. Sergio, P15, up 9 spots to P6. Max, again, dominant. Can't do anything better than pole, fastest lap, winner. But it was surprising. This is the first time maybe since the race 1 or 2 where it wasn't just like an automatic, all right, he's gone. It's a race for second place. Seeing him not lead the race for 5 laps. This might have been like maybe his closest competition. I know he didn't win 2 of the races, but Red Bull's maybe closest competition that they've had. I think Aston had a couple good battles with them the first couple races. So this was a bit of a change. Obviously, the results didn't look that much for Max, but it was cool to see like, hey, he has actually got to work a little bit for it. Perez, just good overtakes, obviously. Same thing that we've been seeing the last couple races. He is starting with the group of cars that are substantially worse than his. So just kind of moving along pretty quickly behind them and through them. But I mean, if he wants to get better than P6, it's hard, especially for the driver he is, to start P15 to do much better than that. Some stats about Red Bull. First win in Silverstone since 2012. So a 10-year hiatus of winning. which was a bit of surprise. Tied for the record of most consecutive wins at 11 with McLaren during the Senna Prost days. I'm assuming that they're going to beat that. And then at the very end, just obviously got to bring in Helmut Marko here. Was just fighting with a photographer to get to Lando Norris to congratulate him. Just another funny scene. This guy just can't stay out of the scene, just being the weirdo asshole he is.
Yeah, he is. You know that like the conversation starter of like, oh, give me like 3 people living or dead that you'd want to have dinner with. You know,
Helmut Marko.
I think Helmut Marko would be in my 3 least like who I would most not want to have a dinner with.
Yeah.
Because I think this guy's just so conceited. Just like, excuse me, sir. He's like, you're a lowly photographer. No one knows your name. He like looked at him as if he was shocked that he was breathing the same air as
I'm going to get you fired. Like he definitely went back. He's like, hey, find that photographer, fire him.
He's like, I could take your camera and throw it on the ground right now and nothing would happen to me. And you're trying to like get on the rails. Like, this is
you're trying to do your job, you fucking loser.
I don't even have a job. What's his job? What's his job title?
Dude, just fucking shit stir.
Just shit, just asshole.
Asshole. He's not one of our assholes.
No.
Also, I saw Christian Horner had a barbecue and invited the entire grid to his house.
That barbecue looked banging. That barbecue incredible.
Yeah, like what he was grilling.
Yes.
I wish they showed a picture who all was there. They said half the grid showed up. I was very curious who ended up showing up. Had to be definitely like, let's try to throw this out real quick. 10 drivers, both Red Bulls done. I bet Lando, Max's friend. So that's 3. George, not Lewis. So we got 4.
Yeah.
Charles, Albon. He's like, I want to be like important. Alonso, he's a nice guy. He wants to be everywhere. De Vries, no, he knows he was gone.
Dude, maybe they told him at the barbecue. Remember, like, hey, it's like, is the food good?
Hey, come on over here.
Time? Yeah.
Hey,
you're fired.
So we started off with 11 drivers and then actually ended it with 10 drivers. Sorry. I think we got 8. Let's throw in
maybe Guan Yu. Get like just like throw his name in, throw his hat in the ring in case Christian ever gets risky.
And then I don't see maybe Hulk. I don't see K-Mag ever going to anything. He has to feel like he's just like a pretty homebody.
Yeah, he's got kids. He has the excuse of like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
The wife's nagging me.
Yeah. She's like, you can go. He's like, shut up. I'm gonna come.
Shut the fuck up.
All right. Good stuff. Well, that's the top 5 in the Constructors Championship. Let's round out the episode with our race predictions. All right. This is like a handshake. Push. So of the 2 predictions that I got right, driver of the day, Lando, obviously saw that one a mile away. And then cars that didn't finish, I picked 3. So those are my 2 that I got right. Take my total up to 10. Marco?
Max winner, Max fastest lap. So it will be a minute until I can use Max for a little bit. I had to milk that cookie as much as I could, buddy. So it takes mine up to 19.
All right. So 19 to 10 is how we stand right now. A lot of season left, as McLaren's showing us. I've reinvigorated my hopes. So yeah, let's keep this sucker rolling. All right, so a week off, and then we are racing in Hungary and the Hungaro Ring. We are back to the ring, the ring-a-ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Oh, we're at the Red Bull Ring. So we're at the Red Bull Ring, then we go to the Hungaro Ring. Nice.
Yep.
Good ring sandwich. Speaking of rings, someone got married. Yay! Look at that.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy.
Awesome. All right. Well, week off. Everybody enjoy the weekend of no racing, and we will see you back for the Hungaro Ring preview.
See you, assholes.
See you, assholes.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.